silence. Going.
If we go right back to the beginning, so someone logs on, they're in research mode, and one of the big questions that they're asking is like, who am I going to choose? But maybe in addition to that, should I go to auction or should I go private treaty? What recommendation, what advice would you give them? So we're talking sellers.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think trust is a must. For a seller, they need to partner with somebody that they trust.
Yep.
So how do you get that trust? It's all, I think, results and evidence. One of the interesting, if you look at, so I'm not a selling agent, I'm purely an auctioneer, but I have a lot of top quality selling agents come and talk to my students. And it's interesting to see how the seller decision when they decide to list has changed over the last 10 years. So where it used to go from a potential vendor would sit you down, and look at all the factors and then make a decision. In today's marketplace, or what we're hearing in South Australia, is the potential sellers, because we're on an online world, they've already picked their agent before the agent gets into the door. How have they picked that agent? Because they've done their homework on realestate.com. They've had a look at, some of the auctions. They've gone to the open inspections of that particular agent. In your question, should they go to auction or private treaty? Every seller is different and every property is different. So, it's about the seller picking a good quality agent that they trust. They have seen evidence, whether it be online feedback or at open inspections and or auctions, talking to that agent and letting that agent guide the seller as to what's the best method of sale to achieve the best price for them, because it's about the vendor.
Yeah. Okay. Gents over here.
I certainly think part of that process now in selecting auction as a method is to also understand who's actually going to be the one representing you, both agent and auctioneer, and how well is that relationship between the two. You can have a great auctioneer and a great agent. If they've never worked together, it's not as cohesive as a partnership that has developed over years.
I can confidently say that my agents will go in there that use me, and they will say at a listing presentation, before you sign with us, but before you sign with them, spend this weekend out in the trenches and go and watch some auctions, and we'll speak to you on Monday. And they get the business.
Yeah.
We're a part of their team. We're an extension of what they do.
And one of the reasons why in Tasmania probably hasn't been harnessed so much that auction process is because we don't have any independent auction organisation within Tasmania. So usually it's either a director or a young cadet who's done some auction training but actually doesn't understand the full fundamentals and the process.
Opportunities.
Call you next week.
Yeah.
Give me a short trip from Melbourne.
They'll all be ringing me now. But what I'm saying there is that the public goes to the auction because it is a bit of a fanfare and a show, and they rock up, and then because the execution isn't done correctly, they're going, well, that was a bad experience, that was a bad result. And the scary thing is in Tasmania, if it sells, it's a success. It might be for a poor price, but if they go sold on the hammer, it's high fives all round. But it shouldn't be like that. So in Tasmania, we really need to focus on using the process of auction, but doing it the right way so the consumer actually has confidence in the industry.
That's good. And that's related, that experience is related to your brand then. And it's that consistent message that you want to try and send. So when they're deciding about whether auction's right, it's just, are you comfortable with, I try not get the agents to overcomplicate an auction. An auction is just a form of negotiation. All we're saying is on this day, this is when we're going to negotiate. It's just a bit more dynamic. It's got more speed attached to it than a private treaty. In essence, it's not too dissimilar. You do the same things. So don't overcomplicate it. That's how we're going to choose to negotiate.
Another very simple way is, Gavin, if you choose private treaty, it's a fixed price, and generally the buyers will negotiate dollars down. Whereas with auction, we remove price and negotiate dollars up. Which would you prefer, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor? Dollars down negotiation or dollars up? And removing the price. And I think as well, third-party stories for consumers, telling them some stories about auctions, or as Stuart said, inviting them to some of your auctions so they can see it, feel it, and giving this maybe some recent videos of auction that they can see some results that you've done for other sellers, and explaining that those vendors were nervous at the time they made the decision. They weren't necessarily going to go the way of auction, but we spoke to them about a few other sales, recent sales that we conducted by way of auction, where we'd achieved a premium price for the vendor. They then opted for auction and were delighted with the result that they achieved, which was far above what they may otherwise have achieved. With 8 registered bidders on the day, they exceeded their expectation by an extra $50,000 or $100,000 that they may not otherwise achieved had they not gone to auction.
I think also too, agents can get a little bit bogged down on the auction day. The auction day is really important. Even if the property doesn't sell, you can still put on a really good show. And what is going to transpire over the next 24 hours a week or 2 weeks is really, really important. And a lot of it comes back to what you did on the auction day. You've got to set it up for the next stage, and that next stage is 10 minutes after the auction. And I think a lot of agents get really despondent because, we don't have any buyers, it's not going to sell tomorrow. Well, get over it. Be positive. Say tomorrow is a really important part of the wholesaling process because we're going to sell this property and it is going to sell and it's going to sell quickly there after auction. But what we do tomorrow is really important for what we do next. And you have to be positive, and you have to be positive with your owners, and your owners have to go into that auction day still feeling good about themselves. You get up, you put on a good show, you make them feel important, you talk about the property like it's the best property in the world, right? They go away thinking, okay, well, we didn't sell, but we had the auction. We're going to continue and we will get it sold because 95% of them will sell pretty quickly thereafter, quite often to someone who actually hasn't even seen the property before auction.
And that 5 minutes or 10 minutes that you deliver that
Absolutely.
is the seller can live, breathe the market in that 5 minutes, that there is no buyer for there at that price right now, and that is powerful. So that, the way you execute that, mate, couldn't agree anymore how important that is. That is so important.
For me, a lot of people, I believe, in Queensland don't do auctions because auction is a method that will hold you accountable as a real estate agent.
Yeah, that's good. Interesting.
It holds you accountable in front of everyone. Yeah, from a principal's point of view, I love it when my staff do auctions because I know they're held accountable because they think they're out on show. I've got one guy, if he's got an auction, he's getting a haircut the morning of, and it's just that interest in the cars.
Yeah, that's good.
So it's quite a really interesting phenomenon that people are held accountable when they're running auction campaigns.